Hey, what's up? I'm Aisha, even though my jacket clearly says Austin. Welcome back to the Monsoon Season podcast. Today's episode is going to be unlike any other episode so far. It is going to be a true embodiment of what I talk about, what my entire body of work is rooted and anchored in vulnerability. I feel all over the place, and there are so many things going on in my inner and outer world that I just wanted to keep this episode really vulnerable, authentic, relaxed, grounded, and also steeped in this intention of providing value and hopefully sharing the building of this journey as an offering to you in your dreams and in your endeavors. So if you're new here, I just want to remind you that Monsoon Season is a podcast about culture, consciousness, and the courage it takes to be seen. I truly believe that the sexiest quality in each of us is our vulnerability, and my dharma and my purpose in this lifetime is to help you unlock your gift and serve humanity with that gift that you inherently have. There are so many episodes that I have brewing that I've been writing treatments for, and they're all unfinished still, and they're still in the development phase. So instead of trying to put the pressure on myself after a long Memorial Day weekend to try to get that something that is super polished and produced, I thought I would really just show up here and share what I'm working on and just have this open conversation and dialogue about what's going on and how difficult it is sometimes to be an entrepreneur. Every time I come off the tail end of a 4-day weekend, I always feel very tired and kind of like a crash out. So I spent the last 4 days with my husband, my partner, and I love spending time with him. He's the person I want to spend all my time with. But when we have a long weekend, I always start getting this itch because I'm a Sagittarius. I love spending time alone. I start to get that itch of like, wow, I really, really can't wait until I'm alone again. And so when Tuesday came, I felt like I needed a Sunday to myself to kind of just get my ish together, if you will, or just feel like I'm whole again. Because sometimes these long weekends feel like I feel more exhausted after these weekends than restored in a lot of ways. And I was doing not hard things. I was trying to just live, and I was at the pool and the beach and started binge watching Survivor on season number 50 for the first time ever and got sucked into the Survivor black hole. And so I didn't do anything like massively stressful or labor intensive, and I was just enjoying life, but I was feeling this itch of like, okay, what's next? What's next? What can I create next? What is the next project to work on? This morning I woke up and my mind felt so scattered and so chaotic, and I kept feeling this gnawing feeling in the morning that I'm behind. I need to get things in order and my ducks in a row and get back on track. And I wanted to skip my meditation, but as soon as I had that thought, I realized that thought was indicating to me that I was feeling very dysregulated, and that if I have that feeling of I'm behind, I am behind in anything in life this week, whatever have you. If you have that feeling of I am behind, you are not in the present moment. Your body is not online fully. There's a nervous system dysregulation. So I told myself, no matter how jittery, no matter how panicked I was feeling in my mind and how my mind how the thoughts were playing out thought by thought, I had to take even just 5 minutes to sit and meditate. So normally I do 20-minute meditations minimum, but today I was just feeling so jittery and I just was like, let me just do the 5 minutes. So I did my 5 minutes, and I immediately felt better. And even with my dog running around and just distracting me the entire time, she has a hard time when I meditate because when my dog sees me meditate, she thinks I'm dead because I'm so good at being so still that she starts to panic and starts like rubbing her snout all over me and trying to like nudge me around because she thinks that I'm playing dead or something, and it freaks her out. But anyway, it's neither here or there. That's just one of the Somali-isms of my dog. But I immediately felt better. And another thing I did was I opened my phone, and I do this a lot when I feel like my mind is chaotic, cluttered, and dysregulated. I opened my phone and instead of writing in my journal or instead of doing morning pages, which I love to do, I will use my voice notes app and just let it rip. Just talk for as long as I need and brain dump everything happening in my head. And so even the little to-dos and the tasks at hand and all these random thoughts, these things that are agitating me, annoying me, I'm just brain dumping everything. And the reason I use the voice notes is because I'm really using in a place in my life where I am trying to use my voice as much as possible to sharpen my voice, to get more clear, and imagining my throat as like a sword that I always want to sharpen. So using my voice to help get rid of any suppressed energy or any suppressed thoughts and emotions is a lot more impactful for me right now than writing it down. And I also do it because it's really, really powerful to either play it back and hear yourself as an observer and as a neutral party. To be able to hear it back is a different thing than when you're reading something in your journal and reading in your head. I just love the audio experience of hearing your voice and getting comfortable with your voice and cozy with your voice, because I've spent most of my life hating the way I sounded. So again, brain dump everything in your heart, in your head, get it all out, no judgment. And then what I do is I copy transcript and I input the transcript into Claude. And this is one of those intentional ways I like to use artificial intelligence, but I'll put my audio transcript into Claude and I'll say, please pluck out any patterns and threads that you're seeing in my voice note transcription and pull out all of my tactical to-dos and things I am, worried about into a list. So I'll have a tactical to-do list, and then I'll also be able to have a few patterns that AI is recognizing in the spiral of that audio. So that is something I've done for a long time, and it's always very helpful. So I like doing this because it doesn't impede on my creativity or my process, but it actually just helps me use Claude as kind of like an executive assistant, or in terms of like my thoughts, and helps me like just clear the clutter in my thoughts and my prompts and stuff like that. I really love to use AI and Claude for helping me track patterns in a very neutral way, but never allowing it to dictate my creativity or my creative process in any way. So this is a really intentional way I use AI to help in my entrepreneurial work. So I had a bunch of things on this list. I had record the podcast episode because I always like having the podcast go out every Tuesday, and it's really important for me to not break that consistency or that track record. I was also, something on my to-do was to record a podcast for a friend of mine, A Moment of Kindness, and it's a self-recording episode. I had some issues with sound the last time I recorded, so I had to re-record that podcast. And then I always have like a bunch of to-dos that get globbed together with like my business to-dos that to me are, maybe to someone else might seem like not a big deal, but to me, as someone who really values my relationships and friendships, I sometimes overthink things like writing happy birthday messages and following up with a friend who has a sick parent and making sure that they're okay and offering whatever service or errands that I can run for them. So there was just like so many other things that if I was feeling regulated would feel not like a heavy lift, but when I'm feeling dysregulated, these texts and getting back to people and like responding to voice notes and all the messages and engagement or whatever ends up feeling like this huge mountain to climb. Yeah, my bathroom is a mess and I have to do some laundry. I want to follow up with a sales call that I did last week. A bunch of things were happening. I wanted to simplify my pricing structure for my coaching offer. I wanted to audit all of my social media channels to really start focusing on cohesion aesthetically and through storytelling. I want to like really refine my hero's journey and what my PR story is. And what I mean by that is just like the elevator pitch of what my story is. I had a lot of things on my to-dos, like big projects, small projects, little errands and tasks and communication and admin things. And so I was just feeling like this crushing sense of pressure that I just always put on myself because I have always been really hard on myself and always put a very high standard of how I show up. And sometimes it gets messy, like today. I wanted to share a couple of things, and the first is that I just decided today that I was going to change my coaching offer and lower my price. This was a very like complex thing to navigate. On Friday last week, I received a comment from someone who said that they really like loved the work that I was doing and resonated with a lot of the content I was putting out and was just very in deep resonance with my offer page until they came to the cost. And they said, well, it's, I'm not your target customer because I can't afford your coaching container. And I definitely took it to heart. And it was one of those moments where I really had to really focus on discernment as an entrepreneur and as a person, because I was just met with, like, to be honest, I just met that moment with a lot of compassion and empathy. And as a past people pleaser, I wanted to immediately just like change my offer and be like, no, like or just offer that person like a sliding scale and say like, you know what, like, don't worry about it. Like whatever you want to pay is enough. And I had to like really anchor myself back in what do I want to truly do and what do I want my work to be about. And I thought I wrote a very thoughtful response in terms of just really like taking in the feedback and reflecting back what I was seeing, and also just sharing my point of view, telling someone, just like having a human conversation. Because I think so many people, like, we take things so personally when it's just like, hey, this person just really wants what I'm selling, and that's a gift in so many ways. So how can I honor them by responding in a thoughtful way? And for me, that was like meeting them emotionally where they are, resonating deeply, because I've been in a position where I couldn't afford offers and coaching services that I really wanted because I wasn't financially able. And then also sharing with them like my honest take, which is everything for the most part that I put out, other than my one-on-one coaching container, is currently free. There is no paywall, and that might change in the future, and it's allowed to change. But everything that I put out into the world is an offer. It's not just the coaching one-on-one, that service is just a specific type of offer, and just sharing that like everything is coming from my heart. And I try to make things as accessible as possible, but I also want to honor the amount of work and investment that I've made in myself to show up and deliver on the things that I promise for my clients. And so I was really proud of that response and felt good about it. But I'm not going to lie, it like definitely got under my heart, and I really looked at my offer and I thought like, hey, like what can I do to make this, like, do I feel good about the pricing right now? And I decided today, like, I did want to reduce the pricing, and that I was really comfortable with it, and it was coming from a place that I genuinely wanted to make things simpler for myself and for people who potentially could sign up for it. So I lowered my price, which is exactly what people tell you not to do. I lowered my price knowing that I probably should be charging more, but right now I feel 100% good about that decision. And as long as your heart feels good about where you're at, that's all that matters. And if I choose to raise the prices, which I will at some point, I have every right to change my mind in the future. But right now, I decided to actually lower my prices significantly. I ended up writing to the person I had a sales call with and just letting them know. Or during the sales call that I had, I told this person the price that it was last week, which was much higher, and they haven't fully closed yet. Like, I haven't fully closed that sale yet, but instead of waiting to see if they would say yes to the higher price, I decided to do the much harder thing, which is be vulnerable and transparent and reach out to them and say, hey, I know you haven't decided yet, but I'm just letting you know that these are my new prices, and I'm really eager to work with you and all this stuff, but like, I just wanted to give you a heads up that I'm lowering the price. And I hope that that person knows it's not because I value the work that I'm doing less. If anything, it's that I value my offer so much that I wanted it to be at a more accessible price point. Emailing a potential client for that felt like such a boss move for someone like me, because my highest value in my business is my integrity, and to just like move differently than other people. I'm not out here trying to get the most out of other people or like to make the biggest buck. I'm really here to serve people from my heart, and that requires to like move from my heart and be led by my heart. And so even though probably every single business guru would probably say like, don't lower your prices, I lowered my prices. It's going to look like you're going to lose your power if you tell someone, you changed like something about your offer once you've pitched it. I reached out and I changed what my offer was in terms of pricing, and lowered it because I wanted to be in integrity when that happens. And I don't want a client to sign and then later see that the price dropped or something like that and they weren't included. So that was like, for me, a big, big move today, and I feel really good about it. I'm really proud of myself for showing up that way. I finished recording the episode for my friend Nil, and the entire podcast that she does is all about these like beautiful extracted moments of kindness. And it's an anthology series, so it's different people sharing their random moments of kindness. And I think in my head, I went through 3 or 4 different ideas that I was ruminating on for so long. And I ended up just going with the one that felt the truest in my heart and recorded it. And my voice was really shaky because I felt so vulnerable sharing it. It wasn't something that was like this cutting a wound open type of thing. It was just like a really sweet moment, and it's actually a moment of how I fell in love with my partner. But I was shaking, my voice was shaking the whole time. And I thought about re-recording it, and I was like, nah, it's good. I am starting to just feel like any way I show up, how imperfectly I show up is perfect. And that is something that I teach and that I preach, and it's important for me to be anchored in that. And that's another thing about integrity. It's just, if I tell people that like it's okay to be vulnerable, then I have to be willing to have moments like this, and moments where I'm in my closet recording an episode for someone and my voice cracks, and leaving that in and being okay with it. And that's how I can still strengthen my inner integrity. I also wanted to shout out that I just got today my first ever hate comment. I don't even like the phrasing hate comment. I see all these things as neutral, but I got my first legit negative comment on a YouTube video from some rando saying, I quote, "You suck at telling stories." And I genuinely laughed out out loud when I saw it, because it was a moment where I felt like, wow, I really made it. Someone random on the internet is hating on me for yapping too much or whatever. And I just loved it so, so much. They said, "You suck at telling stories." And that might be true. I also think I'm an amazing storyteller. And I watched the clip back, and it was like a YouTube shorts of a longer podcast episode. And I watched the clip back, and I was like, I do suck at telling the story, because I like went in circles and all the way around town before I got to the point. And I kind of agreed with this person. I was like, damn, if you don't know me, I and you just saw this one clip, it does look like I suck at telling stories. And it genuinely made me laugh. And I responded by saying like, haha, this made me smile. And they responded by saying, of course it did, ... in this sarcastic way. I fucking love this moment for me. Truly, I am celebrating, and I'm so honored to get my first hate comment. Growing up in the iconic 90s hip hop era, like everything is about like shout out to the people that like told me I couldn't do it, and like all the haters and stuff. And I just felt like, wow, this is like a true authentic I made it moment. And the other thing that kept coming up for me was a little bit of like the deeper, more serious side, but I genuinely am not affected by the negativity. And it was a true moment of hard evidence that I haven't had in a long time, that reminded me of how far I've come with my mental health. There were so many years that I struggled with depression and anxiety and severe mental health. Like I had clinical depression and suicidal ideation, and I hated myself. Like I truly did not like myself. And I had so many moments in my life where, especially in those really dark years, where people would say really mean things to me. I remember getting comments on the internet about um, being fat. I remember I was like really overweight at a certain time. Probably honestly not different to like the size I am now, but I would have people on the subway. This happened multiple times, but people on the subway would get up and offer their seat and because they thought I was pregnant. And I would go along with it because I was so ashamed and so embarrassed. And I wasn't pregnant. I was just overweight. And I was so embarrassed and so humiliated by those moments and bullied a lot as a kid and so many things. And so it's just funny to me because regardless of the harshness of external comments and things like that, no one's ever been harsher to me than myself, my own mind. When my mental health was at its worst, the things I thought about myself were disgusting, were terrible. And no person that I know or a stranger could possibly insult me better than I insulted myself. So to me, being able to get a comment that was negative and truly, truly know that it's water off a duck's back, that I know that this comment has nothing to do with me. And maybe it does, because I kind of did agree with them that this clip kind of sucked. I was rambling a little bit. But it's just so crazy to me to get a hate comment and to like truly love it and truly find gratitude in it. Just, I can't tell you how crazy that is to tell my younger self that like you're going to get hate comments and it's not going to affect you and not going to help make you feel bad about yourself in any way because you've come so far, you've overcome so much. You love yourself so unconditionally, like damn. Like damn. I feel blessed. I feel blessed to be here and to get hate and not even see it as that. Because I used to be my number one hater, and I also grew up in a South Asian family and have a South Asian mother, so and grew up with the aunties. So these people out here on the internet think that they're gonna get me. It's just these people out here on the internet think that they can get to me when I grew up with a South Asian mother and aunties that literally bullied me to death. And every single person around me, like, you don't grow up in that culture and not have thick skin. Like, you don't. And so in so many ways, I just want to shout it out to that first hate comment on the internet. I love you. And to the aunties, like, thank you for literally getting me here with my thick ass skin because I was just so viciously ripped apart and criticized so much. And for anyone who is afraid, and a lot of people that I know who create online or wants to create a business and have a dream, they hold themselves back because they're afraid of something like this potentially happening when they don't understand that this is empty. All of these things happen or don't happen because it's the medicine that we need to overcome the limiting things in our life. I got this message today and it reminded me of how far I've come. To someone else, that comment might ruin their fucking day. It might destroy their self-esteem. But if your self-esteem is affected by something like that, that is not true esteem. That is not true confidence. So all of these things are just signals that happen to us. And so if you are someone who's really afraid of judgment or really afraid of criticism, that means that there is something within yourself that isn't fully solid yet, and that there's a harsh criticism and a harsh critic within you that lives within you. So part of the work is working through that and loving yourself and building the layers of that self-love and undeniable self-acceptance. And you don't have to do that and then start creating. You can do that in tandem. And I just think it's such a powerful thing to remind people that the hate is really a moment for us to do a temperature check on how much we actually love ourselves. And that's what I got today. And so I'm just grateful to this fool online for having the time of day to bless me with that. Something I also want to share is what I'm working on from a business standpoint. You're really getting a peek behind the curtain. But yeah, the thing I'm working on right now is like really refining my hero's journey, refining my story so that I can, if I really understand my story backwards and forwards and how I want to package that to perfection. And when I say package, I don't mean manipulate the story in any sort of way, but truly design it in a way that not just people who know me, but people who are strangers can connect. The reason I want the story to be crystallized and crystal clear is so that it becomes a stronger magnet for the people I can serve. That's the intention behind refining the story and being able to rinse and repeat it on as many different avenues and platforms and outlets and all what have you. So that's a huge part of my work this week. And then another piece for me is as we step into the second half of the year, which is wild, June is going to be kind of that marker of there's 6 months left of the year. I have been really reflecting on what can I do differently. And the first 6 months of the year of 2026 has really been about putting in the reps, getting the consistency and the devotional discipline down in my work, showing up and getting to a place where that discipline is now so automated in me that it's like, it's gonna happen. Like there is no fight internally anymore of like, oh, am I going to write this article? Am I going to record this podcast? No, I know in my bones what needs to get done and what I've set out to do. And I am showing up and doing it consistently. I am doing my live guided meditations on Mondays at 11 a.m. on Substack, and I'm sticking to that. And I send out the recap every Monday, and then on Tuesdays, I'm posting my podcast episodes, and on Wednesdays, I shoot out my podcast breakdowns. And then on Thursdays, I write my newsletter, and I spend half my day writing my newsletter for Friday. And Friday, my signature series newsletter, 5 Vulnerable Things, goes out. Those 3 pieces of content and long-form content, the guided meditations, which is a free offering, the podcast episode, another free offering, and the signature newsletter of 5 Vulnerable Things. These are 3 things that I have committed to and I have stuck to like relentlessly for the last 6 months. But the next 6 months of this year, I was thinking, I'm like, what is higher source, divine source asking of me? And I just keep getting the same answer in my sits and my meditation. And it's always, you need to shoot your shot. You need to go big. Like you need to take some bold steps. You're ready. And so the other thing on my to-do, other than doing the usual stuff that I just shared on my schedule, and then also with refining the hero's journey, is pitching myself as a guest on other people's podcasts, which is going to be a huge expander moment for me. So the reason I want to get my hero's journey really buttoned up and like refined to a T is because that bleeds into the ecosystem of what I want to be doing, which is being on other people's podcasts and leveraging other audiences and really starting to expand the community outside the corners of my current business and my current orbit. In order to pitch yourself, you need to have a really clear story. So figuring out the hero's journey and the story that I really want to share is bleeding into then pitching myself for 3 podcasts to be a guest on 3 other people's podcasts. And then the last thing I'm also working on is really going after my dream guests. So I have been doing the podcast now for 3 years, and I've done a lot of solo episodes, which I absolutely love. But one of my greatest joys is being in my 90s, early 2000s Oprah bag and interviewing people and getting to create a vulnerable space for people to share their story. That is really what I think my gift is being so incredibly present with people and having such potent access to my own vulnerability that it really allows other people in presence with me to access their own vulnerability and share things that they probably wouldn't have shared otherwise in other circumstances. So yeah, those are the 3 big things that I'm working on, and I really just can't state enough that the next 6 months, it's make some big moves. Think about and really audit the last 6 months, because I hate when people get to the end of the year in December and then they're like, oh, well, okay, now I have another year. You can do the audit at any time. And I love doing a half-year audit because it's crazy how much things can change in such a short amount of time if you truly believe. To me, when I stepped into 2026, I told myself that success was just showing up consistently for the next 12 months, and I will do that. But now that I feel strong enough and ready enough, there's this other calling that's coming in, which is to make bolder choices, to be more audacious, to really shoot my shot the next half of this year. And so I am choosing to listen to that and to not ignore that intuitive ping. And I hope this is interesting. Thank you for just sitting down, chatting, and just hearing what's going on in monsoon season, not just from the polished end or from the service end, but really truly what I, as the entrepreneur and the builder of this world, am experiencing. And so thank you for being here. I truly am so grateful that I get to do this work and get to serve people in this way. And if there's anything I can do for you, please reach out and let's connect. And yeah, comment something maybe that you took away from this episode or something that you're working through that you need a little bit of friction with or a little banter with. I'm happy to be in the comments helping and just giving you any support that you need on your journey. I will see you in the next episode. So much love. Bye.